There he is, the legend.
No, man, no, man. I'm blessed to be with you now, man. What's going on?
Nothing. I'm seeing you on Instagram hitting the gym once in a while. So you beefing up or what?
Yeah, a little bit, man. A little bit, a little bit. It's a little bit of the single life stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah,
Love
but
that. Love that. What? Tell me the truth, man. Is it an age thing? You're getting a little bit older, and you're like, I got to go to the gym, get the energy up. Like I'm confessing, I'm projecting right now.
yeah, it's both. It's both. It's that and single life and yeah, feeling better and yeah, it was just time. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get caught in certain things and it forces you to like, some people call it midlife crisis. I don't call it that. I think it's more just like midlife reevaluation. I mean,
Got you.
that's really what it is. So good man, good man. How you been though, man?
I'm all right, dude. I'm all right. You know how
Yeah,
what I always say is the highs and lows of football,
yeah,
So I don't know. The teaching thing is going good. The personal life is going good. The agency is ass,
mm,
but as expected,
yeah,
the online business is going good. And I don't know if you've been following along in any regard, but
yeah,
we're being more and more consistent.
yep,
Publishing the podcast regularly and luckily, I have some good help with Benny, publishing on Instagram on a regular basis as well.
yep,
So I can't complain, brother. I can't complain. Although I was projecting before, I'm getting older, I'm getting a
yeah,
little bit, things are starting to squeak a little bit, and I'm like, oh shit. So
yeah.
I went for my first run today, this morning,
Nice.
in like half a year
Yeah.
almost. And I only survived like 2 miles, Kev, but I'm just I'm just saying to myself, "Hey, man, baby steps, to rebuild."
Yep, yep. No, it'll happen, man. It'll happen just step by step, and all of a sudden, you get a couple David Goggins videos running, and then next, thing you can't stop. So, how's the scene out there, man? Are you able to check out any? Well, you're probably busy. I don't know if you get to check out any youth football there anymore or
No,
anything.
no, like I look, admittedly, and I've said it on the podcast many times, I've moved away from the youth game for a long time now. It's been
Wow.
ever since I started like seriously working at the professional level, like
Mhm.
the youth stuff fell by the wayside. And obviously, Brian has his first professional gig
Yeah.
with the USL, with the brand new franchise here in Alta Vista. He's doing very good. Um, so no, man, that's the scene from a soccer perspective anyway. And no, dude, I'm just trying to get back into the education side of the equation a lot more.
Yep.
And that's why I'm catching a lot more of these US men's national team games and things of that nature. But you wanted to rap about that, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's crazy. My friend said, my friend, he's from Paris. He's like, he's from Paris, via Cameroon, but also U.S. passport. So he has all three passports. So he's lived between them all. And he's like, when he talks to me, he says, you guys, and we talk football together, he's talking about Holland, Netherlands. He doesn't talk to me about the U.S. And I'm like, oh, I mean, what do you mean? I'm American, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm starting to feel it's starting to come out. It's now been almost 8 years, so it's starting to feel like, I'm maybe more to this side. If I'm here for another 5, 10 years, it's like, yeah, you're starting to you're probably part Dutch in a while. You know what I mean? From the
Got you.
old points. So yeah.
Hey, Kev, speaking of the consistency that we've been on the past year or so, we've
Yeah.
gotten a lot more listeners, a brand new audience
Yep.
and as a consequence of that, I think it's probably a worthwhile thing for you to give your 2 minute elevator pitch of who is Kephern Fuller.
Yep. Yep. 100%. 100%. Not a problem.
So tell me, who is Kephern Fuller? Why, why are you
Yeah.
on the show, man?
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, Gary, we met on Twitter, I want to say back in 2009, 10, if I'm dating it. So it's like almost cool 15 years. And what was crazy was I saw the tweets you were putting out, and it brought me back to what I was learning when I was a youth player. So obviously, I grew up in the U.S. youth soccer system, mostly in the Atlanta, Georgia area, and I had a youth coach who was Dutch, and so he just had a whole different message than we were used to, from the football education to possession style of soccer, even the focus and the mindset of saying, "Hey, we're not gonna just do." 1,000 tournaments, you guys are going overseas. So this is back in like 99, 2000. So if you can imagine, people weren't going over frequently. people, I mean, I think the trips to England were kind of happening, but like Holland, was kind of one of those places that people kind of went to, not too much yet. And we were definitely in our area, the Southeast. We were one of the few teams who went regularly or religiously. And it just really opened my eyes to football. And on that journey, when I went about, when I was like, 17 years old for the first time, I just kept going back on these trips, and then finally, when I was 22, and I finished at George Mason University up in the DC area, I just contacted that same coach who became a general manager, and I said, "Hey, can I come to Holland for 3 months and see what happens?" Around 2006, and then 2006, at that time, you had DeMarcus Beasley who was playing at PSV. There's I think Michael Bradley at that time was at a club Herenveen, another Dutch pro club, and so I said, "Hey, let me just try my hand." And I was just going to amateur soccer. I was just going to see what happens. But it was crazy. Within my first 2.5 weeks, the second division club I was at, Cumber Leeuwarden, tried to sign me. So it was just remarkable because, I met my coach when I was like 16, maybe 15 and a half, 16, spent maybe 2.5, 3 years. And the soccer education I received there was like my whole life. It influenced everything from my training, from the outlook of the game. It just, I played high school, so we were playing high school, and I became the captain. I was coaching the team. I really was coaching the team. The coach would ask me like, "Hey, what should we do for sessions?" And I was running sessions, even though I was playing. So yeah, that's how I got the coaching bug, I guess. And from there, just really set out and started creating my own way. When I got back to the States, the club couldn't sign me because I didn't have a EU passport, but I found out my path was to not actually play, but to actually help create the path for players. And so I set out and began to create Joga back all those years back, a little around 2008, 2009. And from there, man, just been helping as many players get from development, from training, from opening doors and network for them. And that's what I continue to do now that I now live in Holland.
Got it. And you said that you've been in Holland like 8 years at this point.
Yeah, 8 years actually. It's actually going on 9, man. Yeah, by
Animal.
December it'll be 9.
So
Yeah.
what made you pack up and go to Holland? Obviously, I know your relationship and you had
Yep.
kids and everything in Holland. That's a big draw. Uh, but why not have the fam, come to the States versus you going to Holland? Was it a soccer thing or was it more of a family sort of decision?
It was a little bit of both, actually. Like I said, I started Joga probably the end of 2008, and then we officially came out with the name sometime in 2010. But from the soccer point, I spent about 8 years like going crazy ham, meaning, just the time and effort, as you guys know, the time and effort that you put into it. And what I mean was, I started off, I was around what, 24 around that time. So, you got this energy, and I had this energy and this mindset and motivation and dedication of, man, I was so close to making it. And I didn't even know everything I needed to. Like, I was like, "Oh, man, what if I met my Dutch coach when I was 10? What would that have meant for me?" I didn't know the world I entered, and I got so close. So I had an obsession, even though I failed, at my final goal. It drove me to obsession to create a program, or to not create a program, because I already say a program, but I always fall in love with the word culture, right? And I used to preach that. I'm like, man, if you go around the world, the best players in the world, they're playing every day. Just playing every day. In addition to being trained, they're playing every day. You have to love this game. This isn't just you coming to my training session and we have a private session. We have this. It's like, no, no, no. This is love. They're like, every street soccer session we have music. You might hit a barbecue. We created a culture. And then what I saw around is it was really just a business. So I think the people that really fell in love with what we do with Joga was, and we weren't a big organization. This wasn't, at most, at one time, we were maybe 100 strong, man. I'm dead
Damn.
serious. At most, at like when we were at the height of maybe 100 strong. So, but from that 100 strong, people are now playing, professional in Europe, playing at Ajax, like Willie Johannes, Aaron Hurd, who came through our program, signed for Bayer Leverkusen this past year with the U19s. They were both on the same team, which is remarkable. Teddy Kudapitro signed at DC United and now Colorado Rapids. Like, from that small culture, and obviously they would shift off and go to other clubs and work with other coaches, which is great. But if you look at the number of people we had, players moved to Denmark, Spain, Holland, different places. If you look at it, it is quite a crazy number for how many people that we had in our program.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had three coaches, three of us working together. Myself, James Meyer, actually four. Hassan Ghalib. Hassan, I want to say respect to Hassan Ghalib. He just actually with his SYC group up in the DC area, they won the U13 national championships. I want to shout him out.
Nice.
So myself, Hassan, Omar Ismail, James Myers, like we had like a little small coaching staff, but man, we were hustling. You know what I mean? Like people, we were like it was just something like, it was something different. People would leave their training sessions from their clubs. We got to be at the yoga sessions. And I'm like, look, if you're here, you want to be professional. If you're here, your mindset has to be different. If you're here, this is what happens. I'll be on the sidelines coaching, and I'd say, look, we got three groups today, A, B, and C group. You know what I mean? And if I don't care about your age, if you're fucking around, you go in the C group. You don't want to be in the C group. Ah, what? Bro, and I remember my first, as it started to get bigger, we started to bring everyone together. Because it started, like I said, small group, and as it started to get bigger, it's just the mentality and the culture of it. And everyone's like, man, these guys are serious. Like this isn't joke time. This isn't, it was just, and you had the energy, that youthful energy and that energy. You're a little bit of a rebel as well. So you're causing little shockwaves in the area, and then meeting you all, I think, created like a great tidal wave, like really helped us out nationally. Like, I wasn't in California, but bro, through the podcast and stuff, I remember we went to play in Super Copa, I want to say 2014, 2015, around that time. And man, Padiadores, which I've heard of as a club, pretty big club. And they were all like, we've heard of you guys. We got to come. Like, we played them. We beat them 1-0, which I don't care about beating you, but we dominated the game, that other stuff. And they're saying, they're like, we're coming to watch your games. Like they would be on there watching it. I'm like, bro, you guys are huge. You know what I mean? Like we're honestly, like we're ragtag. Like
Yeah.
they'd be like, man, who getting the jerseys? All right, we gotta get the jerseys from here. It's like a little bit. You're putting it together. You're figuring things out. So yeah, man. So I would say that to kind of answer your question, just think about 8 years of consistently doing that, pushing yourself. And then you start to have kids though, right? And you got a family. And then I think around 2016, a lot was changing in the States with so many things. So it's like, okay, yeah, we're about to have a second kid. What do we do? So that also led to the motivation. I was like, hey man, I've always said I wanted to start a club in Europe. I've always wanted to be in Europe full time. I would travel to Europe sometimes 4, 5, 6 times in a year. So that led to me saying, okay, let's us as a family say, hey, let's go. So yeah.
Got you.
Sorry.
No, it's a curious question too, because I view people like us that are in some respect pioneers, right? We're doing something new in the space, and it disrupts the space a lot of times. So, for instance, in your brief story, I know you've had a lot of successes, obviously, but in your brief story where you beat Padiadores, right? This nationally renowned youth club, brand name, going to one of the biggest tournaments, and then you guys are just a ragtag group of whatever,
Yep.
and you show them up. When you do something like that, and there's other things, you got like kind of like a target on your back at that point too, and
Mhm.
they don't want that to continue happening.
Mhm.
So it seems like the machine starts mobilizing to find a way to not let you continue building those sorts of things. So they either find a way to cap you, like, okay, this is as far as you go, right?
Mhm.
Or they set out to destroy you, pure and simple. And there's all kinds of ways. So people might be thinking who are listening right now, well, how do they do that, Gary? Well, there's a whole bunch of different ways they can do that. One possible way is the existing big brands. Let's just say MLS or an MLS Academy, because you guys were there close to DC, right?
Mhm.
They might go to a group such as yours who's doing really good work and is identifying talent that they don't even identify, when it should be them who are identifying the ballers, not
Yeah.
not some nobodies, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
So you're showing them up on the talent identification side. So one of the things that they do is they come and they try to raid your quote unquote best players, and that in effect destroys your program. And here, people have been brainwashed to think like, oh, well, Gary and Kev, isn't that a good thing? Like he should let the players go to these bigger and better things or MLS or whatever.
Yep.
But it's that whole narrative is a is a is an indoctrination by the establishment, right? To also bury you, right?
Mhm.
Because why not take the opposite view? Why not take the view of, hey, let us continue building? Because obviously we're doing very good work with these players also, right? Why not let us continue building to the point where we're DC United ourselves? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
and I'm not exaggerating. People here maybe think too small, but we think big, Kefren. And with resources that we could gather, we could become a professional club if we wanted to. So all of this to say that maybe there's a little bit of a desire for, well, fuck, they don't let me build here, so I'm exiting. I'm out of here. I'm gonna leave the United States, basically. So there's a little bit of that. Let me share one more possible way that the system or the establishment or the machine screws us or it
Mhm.
screws any of the pioneers or would-be pioneers or aspiring pioneers. They continue building more and more closed competitions. So now all of a sudden, you as a ragtag group or new club or doing pioneer work, you can't even get into the competitions where those other
Mhm.
teams are anymore. So you
Yep.
can't prove yourself in the
Mhm.
ecosystem anymore. So then what do the families and players end up doing? They end up leaving by themselves. They're like, well, Kev, we love you. We like you a lot. You know, I mean, I wish I could stay here, but look, like you're not MLS Next, or look, you're not ECNL. So I'm sorry, but I gotta go. And that's
Hey,
how they
hey,
destroy you.
hey, Gary, are you sure? Are you sure you weren't like in those conversations? Are you sure you weren't like sitting right next to me during all these conversations?
No, man,
Exactly.
because we've lived it at every single level, and you know this. I'm not going to rehash it, but I
Yeah.
want people to get to know you better. Like I
Yeah.
said, we have a lot of new listeners and a new audience, and they need to learn how the system and the sausage is made here, and why people like you either a leave the country altogether and work somewhere else, b get jaded and say fuck everybody here, and you just become it just becomes a job to you at that point. You
Yep.
lose the passion, you lose the fight, you lose the sense of being a pioneer because they don't let you be a pioneer. So you're like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna go cash a paycheck. Fuck it.
Yep.
You know? Or option C, which I know a lot of people who have been in our world end up doing, they just quit soccer altogether. They're like, fuck it. I'm just if I can't build, if I can't do my thing, I'm out. And
Yep.
so it's fucked up, but that's where we're at. I don't know if you want to add something more to that, but I wanted to also transition to talking U.S. men's national team, which
Yep.
is all related too.
Yeah. 100%, man. No, that you said it. You nailed it right there, man. So yeah, let's move forward.
All right, all right. So, what do you think? Did you watch the game?
Man, we can't catch any games over here, man. I have to catch highlights and some of the things. I've of course been following along as much as possible. Like I was saying earlier, it's like I almost feel like I'm Dutch, but no, I've been, you know, obviously I caught the beginning of I think the fiasco first with the Pulisic and Pochettino and US soccer and everything, and now obviously the lead up into the Gold Cup. So I've been tracking it. So I definitely have some thoughts, even if I haven't seen too much.
Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we start with the Pulisic situation, I just think when we started talking, I used the word culture, right? And that tends to be like the root of everything, which I think is very, very important. Of why you do something, right? And I think that influence is supposed to influence people. And it's kind of like that's what leads everyone to say, okay, I do this because of this, right? Because it means this and this to these people. That's why football or soccer is so beautiful, in my opinion. I, you know, when I look at the US and I look at it compared to over here, obviously, the culture is just totally different. It's just, it's the way it's built, the way it's constructed. So that's why I think we get the issues like we had with Pulisic and Pochettino. It's the mindset. Do I understand that he wanted to rest? 100% from a human standpoint and everything. I totally get it. I totally get it. But the crazy thing about culture, which is like what culture we're a cult, you know. It actually doesn't make sense, right? So, like, when you see the Club World Cup and you see thousands of Brazilian and Argentine fans going crazy in the mall singing songs, that does not make sense. You get what I mean? That you're walking around and you're like, why is everyone chanting in the mall? Why is that important? You're not even at the game. That's what the logical, probably American soccer culture is thinking, where these people are like, no, this is me. This is on a spiritual level, right? I don't know if people really grasp that. I don't know. No, I don't know. We do not grasp that side. We are totally oblivious to it, right? And so because we're oblivious to it, we will think mostly just in a more rational way of saying, "Hey, this is how it's supposed to go." But I think because it's so intertwined, and I think Europe obviously has a spirit and a culture, but I think South America, I would say South America and probably Africa are even like a little extra, even more. You know what I mean? In terms of like how much it really means, So they're even a step beyond Europe, but Europe has it too. It defines you. It defines what you are. So if I compared to like myself with yoga, I was like, we have to do every day. People are like, what? I was like, we have to do every day. I mean, now I'm officially like divorced, but like I almost got divorced like 3 or 4 times throughout those years of doing yoga because I was like, no, you have to be like, you can ask the parents of Teddy Kudapicho and others, plays for Colorado Rapids. I used to be on the street court with them. There'd be only 3 players there, like not people could show up. It'd be a Sunday. I'd be with them there on the court playing for 3 hours. Me as a
Yeah.
as a 25-year-old, I'm kicking ball with them. We're just trying moves. I'm for 3 hours. At that time I was even charging. That's rational.
Yeah.
That's not logical. That was spirit. That was, man. I was like, you don't understand. This means something. This 3 hours means something. You may not think it means something, but it means something. I'm gonna preach that. You know what I mean? Like preaching, like, hey, it's something that is more of a feeling. And then when you finally make it to where you're supposed to make it to, then you understand that feeling, right? And I think we have a disconnect, and because we're so disconnected, um, it's hard to gather that. I think it's hard for all the players to really understand, why players, like, it's something interesting, and I'm gonna change it just a little bit, right? While we're talking about U.S. soccer and whatnot. I'm now, I'm in Holland, but I'm raising a kid in the suburbs of Holland, right? Which is different. Like, I grew up at first suburban, like I was in a suburban asshole, but I went to being poor. When my parents got divorced, I went to being poor. Like, living with my grandparents, sharing a room with my mom and sister, having to sleep on couches, floors, all that stuff. So it was the greatest thing for me, right? I went from two-parent household, everything nice, both parents in the military to, oh shit, like all white school to all black school. All black school, you come in, you speak white, you soft, you're a pussy. My cousin beating the shit out of me, and I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a huge transition, and this is from like 7 to 8. So that's where you're kind of like really forming. Like, that was the greatest thing for me, man, because I think it helped define me. It's also the different cultures and the mindset and how they take on sports too, and the mentality, right? So, like I said, when I went to the neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods and the urban neighborhoods where we were growing up, the way they took on basketball or football, it was like a religion. Like, you're defined by it. And guess what? It From a typical suburban mindset, it's night and day. The things people say to you, the way people act towards you, how seriously they take it, um, it's no fucking joke. And if I compare that to U.S. soccer suburban culture and the cultures we're going against from, like I said, from the root is the youth, right? If I compare that to what we're doing in the States or what's being built in the States, I don't think these kids are fucking ready. And like I said, I've said this many times, highest paid coaches in the world, youth coaches in the world, America. Most trainers, private trainers in the world, America. Most private academies in the world, America. Like, you can name it all. Kids doing 4-hour training sessions, America. I mean, like, with a coach and everything. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I live over here. Like, I see certain things, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, like, I'll bring Diego Luna in it. It's a great story. I love it. You know what I mean? I don't know too much about him, but obviously reading and seeing from the outside. And I'm like, is he really only breakout player or potential breakout player that is supposed to help us for the World Cup in 2026. That means since the Pulisic, Adams, McKinney era, which they came, what, 2016, if I'm correct? That group showed up. So
Yeah.
in 9 years, you have not produced anyone stateside who is supposed to come and be a significant player in our national team. You have not produced anyone since that era. If I'm, like I said, I've been gone for since I've been gone. I'm not saying I'm just saying I'm saying because somebody point someone in my direction. I don't mean someone that was in Europe, Malik Tillman and all these other people. I mean somebody from this whole MLS mindset. And you know what's crazy, Gary? I was having a talk with the former MLS player, cool dude. His son's a legit player, and he recently went to a tournament in Europe, and we were talking. And he said, "Yeah, man, there's some players, from some clubs that came to this tournament. They're supposed to be top players, and they came over. They played some good teams." And he said he looked at it though. He said, "They're too soft. They're not gonna fucking make it. It's all." There's like a bubble around them, right? Where in the States, it's like all-star team syndrome, right? Everybody's telling you the best. You're telling you the best, telling you the best. I fell out with a lot of parents in the States because I'd be like, your son's talented, but he has to go. He has to be challenged. Like, he's not fucking ready. And he was the best in our group. But I would fall out with the ones who were best in our group because I'm like, bro, you better keep going. It was the opposite of what everyone's telling you. Everyone in the States telling, nah, you're the fucking man. No, the fuck you're not. Like, no, you need to change that. Like, you need to meet the dogs. You need to meet, like, people don't understand what's out there, right?
Yeah.
People are, and I mean, you've been in the agency game. Bro, there's kids from Brazil that people don't even fucking know that people are picking up from over there, shipping into like Eastern European countries under the radar. Parents are being paid to get them over. You never met this kid. This kid this is it. And his whole family moved, and he's like 12, 13. And he already like, oh man, they on payroll. I gotta make it. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying we do not grasp what's really going on in the suburban soccer world, U.S. soccer, suburban soccer world. And that leads to this false sense of, oh, look, we played a Generation Adidas and we tied or beat Real Madrid, or we did this and we did that. And I'm like, guys, it's the all-star syndrome. It's like it's one event and you guys are treating it like the World Cup because it is the World Cup for you guys. Like, oh yeah, we get to show. But the consistency of it is, are you ready to suffer? Are you ready to be alone? Are you ready to be by yourself? Are you ready to keep performing and be consistent when, guess what? Every fucking day they're looking for someone better than you, right? If you're at a club, I'm a guy who brings people to clubs, right? I got players in Portugal right now. And I tell them, I said, look, remember how I'm bringing you to clubs? There's like another 100 of me, thousands of me who are doing this around the world all the time. That means they're trying to put their product in and kick a product out. That is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you're on your youth team complaining about playing time and all this other shit. And I'm like, listen, I went through it all. I went through it as well. I had coaches say, oh, you're not going to play. You're not going to do this. You can do this. But like my mom was from, different era, right? Like she grew up poor. Like my mom be like, you better not be crying. You better not be whining. She's like, I'm not talking to the coach. You better fucking talk on the field. And yes, guess what? You're going to deal with fucking politics everywhere. There's politics everywhere in Europe too. I hear people say, oh, there's not politics. I was like, it's a different type, but it's fucking there too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not from there. So I say that to say relating, because I think everything's related to the national team. Like I said, I think when I look at it, it's like you start from the root and then, how we water it, the sun, everything, your ecosystem, everything around you is going to, now we're seeing the final part of the ecosystem, the final part of our whole system is the men's national team. So now you got Pochettino, who's probably looking, I know he's going crazy. Like, he's going crazy. Like, he must be like, what is up with people's mind here? Like, do they understand how important this is? And again, that's from a spiritual, he's going from like, hey, this is how we defined ourselves. People are not really defining themselves through the game. So that's why, like I said, I look at a lot of things in the States. A lot of kids are training. Great. We got so many trainers. Great. We're teaching these skills. Great. All these things. Great. Kids are more maybe technically refined now. Like I would say the baseline player, I think we talked about this before, is more players are training, touching the ball, which is not a problem. But do they love it though? Yeah, do they love it?
You know,
I'm on my son,
did you
bro. I'm
see?
on my son about that.
Yeah, did you see
Yeah.
Pochettino's couple of comments that here in the United States, the media talking heads and even former players like Charlie Davies and
Mhm.
Hercules Gomez were having a cow because of what Pochettino said. I'll give you an example. One of the comments was Pochettino against the game against Guatemala.
Yeah.
The stadium was 90% full of Guatemalans or Guatemalan Americans, I should say. So basically, they're American citizens for the
Yep.
most part from
Yep.
Guatemala, and they're loud and super passionate and hardcore
Yep.
for Guatemala, right?
Mhm.
And maybe 10% were there for the United States. And you know how the American fan is. It's soft as fuck. It's pussy as shit. You know, the way that they cheer is just so superficial. It's not coming from the heart. It's not spiritual, to use your
Yep.
word. And Pochettino's comments after the game were basically like, wow, like that's a proper football culture, what Guatemala exhibited. And he's
Mhm.
like, so in a certain way, I knew he was catching himself while he was saying it. So he tried to do it diplomatically, but it came out anyway. In a
Yeah, of
certain way,
course.
he kind of said, that's kind of like what we need here in the United States. You know,
100%.
I know it's all true. It's
You
100% true.
know.
But these fuck faces here in the US had a cow about it. Oh, the stupid, he making fun of Pochettino like he doesn't get it. He doesn't understand American culture. Like, who is he to say how we should be as fans? All that sort of stuff. So that was one comment, and they couldn't handle it here. Just that one comment, Kev. The other
Yeah.
comment that also came out moments ago was him saying, I'm paraphrasing here, is that, yeah, like here in the States, I notice, or it seems like everybody talks about or wants to make soccer about fun. Oh, it's just about having fun and entertainment and stuff. And he kind of, again, spoke about the rest of the world or in Argentina in particular, because obviously he's from Argentina. He's like, it's not about fun. You know what I'm saying? It's about this is serious business. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And he's not talking about just the national team. He was literally referencing the youth level, like playing soccer, period, is not a
Yes.
thing about entertainment. It is a serious activity, right?
Mhm.
No
Mhm.
effing around. And again, here the monoculture, the incumbent culture, the MLS culture is having a cow about it,
Yeah.
Kev. But it goes to the heart of what you finished saying. It's something that we can't quantify. And unfortunately, that suburban American soccer people always ask me or ask us, well, like, what do you mean? They want us to put numbers to it somehow. And you can't put a fucking number to this stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're so right. It's a like I say, it defines you. It's a different thing, man. It's like, like I said, one of the biggest changes in my life, just moving from the suburbs to like I said, more urban, not even urban, but like country, black neighborhood, even the way we went to church was different. Like certain cultural things would define you, right? Where I would say that suburban culture is about making you the same, rinse, repeat, factory, reset.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
It's very factory driven, everything. Everything. The expression is kind of looked down upon. Being different is kind of looked down upon. Fit in, don't
Yeah.
stand out.
100%. 100%.
Where I'm telling you, we go to the hood and you go to these places, stand out, don't fit in. If it's the a total opposite culture, And just to tell you the mindset, like I said, I worked in the inner city in DC. I was doing the Joker program there. Man, the parents there, no soccer culture at all, none at all. But I started telling the story about like traveling overseas and doing this and doing that, and no logical reason to even say this the parents are like, well, if my child has to go overseas to make it and do it, then that's what he's got to do. That is not logical.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right either.
Yeah.
That so please don't, I know the black community with sports and athletes and all that. I'm not trying to say that that's the only route. I'm saying when something defines you, rational, the logical is just, it's not always going to be the same, right? So to going back to the Pulisic thing, it's like, I totally understand why he wanted the rest. I understand why he needs the rest. I understand that he might perform better. But the fucking spiritual side is like, why the fuck weren't you there?
It's missing.
It's meant,
It's telling.
You're the leader. You're the leader. I don't care. You're the leader. I don't give a fuck. You're the leader. And and it's kind of interesting. Like if you look at sports culture, like who do we quote the most, like from U.S. sports culture, like from mentality? What do we love?
Maybe Kobe.
Kobe comes up immediately. Do we think a Kobe Bryant mentality misses any of these events?
Yeah. Could you imagine Kobe saying, I'm gonna take this duty off, got to rest up. Yeah. So
Mamba mentality. Mamba mentality. Everybody.
no chance.
So I'm just saying we actually do have it, right?
Yes.
And I guess this is a point, that I think there's been like and maybe we mentioned this before. Like, there was the Dempsey, Donovan, Brian McBride era, right? And I'm really gonna mention like McBride and Dempsey, right? Back in the day, MLS, like, if you wanted to play football, they didn't have enough money for you to make life-changing money. So you had to kind of go over, right? And when you went over, there's no lifeline, right? I always reference this, like when I talk to players, I don't know, the Batman, the Dark Knight movie. I think the last one with Christian Bale, the Christian Bale movies, where he had to get out of the tunnel, right? And he was trying to get out of the tunnel, and he kept failing. And he had a rope, he would jump, he'd keep failing, keep failing, keep failing. And then all of a sudden, he went to ask the old guy, he's like, man, how did this kid get out of here? I'm a grown man, I'm physically fit, I got everything. How does this kid get the fuck out of here? He said, without the rope. He said, what? He said, without the rope. And then he had to dig inside himself and say, oh, no lifeline. There's something that scares you that will scare you it'll take you to a different level. I don't know how to explain it, but I love to use that example with the players. And I think what Brian McBride and what Clint Dempsey and anybody else who made a career came from a U.S. system where, look, have we created a player better than Dempsey since his time?
I don't think so.
I don't really think so. I think he'd be the man in this team.
Yeah, 100%.
I know he'd be the man in this team. Mentality, everything, leader, everything, right? And you look at the tribulation, he talks about how hard everything, and all that stuff does with his heart, it just makes you stronger. It's not the opposite. It's supposed to make you weaker. It's actually supposed to make you stronger, right? It hardens you to all the bullshit you're going to deal with later in life. And I looked at it and I was like, man. So when I talk to players, I'm like, you're too comfortable. Life is great. When I want food, I can order food, DoorDash, Uber Eats, whatever, all that shit. The house can be cooled exactly to the temperature I love. All right, I'm uncomfortable. The coach is not playing me here. I want to play here. Needs that. All this shit happens. And I'm like I said, I tell you this right now. And I'm from that culture from the first 7, 8 years of my life. But then the change in my life, it was the greatest thing that happened to me because it showed me a little bit what the world was. So I'm able to kind of go in both and see both. But I'm like, look, you're going against guys like, I told you I've been to Colombia many times, brought players from Colombia over here. And how they approach the game, bro, life is life. Kid didn't even have shoes. His feet were tearing through his Adidas tennis shoes. He was about to play. He's like, tape them up. Tape them up. I'm like, no, man. We found some cleats for him. Some kid, and one of our boys, American boys, had cleats. I put the cleats on, jump in the game.
Yeah.
That's not rational. But he's looking like, hey, somebody might see me.
You gotta burn the boats, Kephern. You gotta burn the boats. You gotta go to the new world. You know how the early explorers did. They found the new world, landed here, and what does the captain do? Burn the boats. That way, his whole crew knows there ain't no going back to Spain. There ain't no going back to Italy. There ain't no going back to the old world or Europe or whatever, wherever they came from. Nah, you're all fucked. You're all staying here now. So now you got to work. Now you got to build shit from scratch. You got to figure it out. You got to burn the boats. And yes, there's a lot of casualties along the way. And not everybody who burns the boats makes it, but it's like a requirement, Kephern. Yep. It's like a requirement to make it.
It's a mental, exactly. It's like a mental, and like we're not calling players out. We're not calling people out with it, right? Like when they fail, like me, I say I'm a failure. I accept that proudly because I'm like, I went to go do something, I didn't accomplish it. So like when I speak to players, I'm like, this is what I didn't do, this is what I should have done with the parents. Because a lot of this is parent education. And listen, there's some great, and I hope with this podcast, with your new listeners, I'm pretty sure if they listen consistently, they know, don't get butt hurt and all that stuff. Like, you know what applies to you and what doesn't apply to you. You know what I mean? That's, and I think a lot of overall with the culture, there's a lot of great people in it, and it doesn't mean that players cannot come from a suburban culture either. That's totally, in fact, like, I think if you look at Brian McBride and all these others who made it happen, they went over an era. We like, even when I was going over an era, they're like, "You're trying to play football? You mean NFL?" No, that's
Yeah.
what they would be. They'd be joking. So there was also like this shame. Like when you came over, they were trying to like clown you. Like the coaches would openly make a joke. The players for sure. Like you had to earn the respect. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit now, but there's more players over and all these things. But I'm like, how do you feel like as a US player, how do they feel when they come over and then people don't really recognize you? Like
When they go over to Europe, you're saying?
both, but even worse back home.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
If you're an MLS player, okay, I'll tell this story. I'll tell this story. I think there were some players from like the World Cup. I think after the U.S. World Cup 2010, they went out somewhere. Some agent, somebody was telling me this, that they didn't recognize the players, and they had just like played in the World Cup, done a great thing, but like they're just not known, right? Like if you're playing at Inter Miami, you're playing with Messi. It's just Messi and Suarez. You're not known if you're an American guy. You're not known.
Oh no, you're invisible. Yeah,
You're
nobody
invisible.
knows you. Mhm.
Bro, I'm sorry. The culture that I came out from, bro, stand out, don't fit in. The ego would be like, bro, Messi got to give me the ball too. And I'm dead
Right,
serious.
right,
You know
right,
the
right.
black culture. When you play at a certain level, people just have they will have egos as well because you come from where I don't care if you're the best, if you're better than me, I still have to show that I'm the one. They would not just cater to like, I'm going to be invisible now. I'm
Yeah,
just on the team. I'm just one of the guys. Yes, you do need those guys, 100%. But we don't even have the other side.
yeah.
We're
I gotta find this clip, Kev, because it reminds me of Christian Pulisic. It showed up on my Instagram reels like 6 months ago or something, and I mentioned it to Benny, and I couldn't find it again.
Yeah,
But it's Christian Pulisic driving a car, and somebody's like kind of interviewing him or filming him, but not professionally. Maybe it was one of his buddies or
yeah, yeah,
something like that, and they're just having a conversation, and it's centered around Christian. Uh, Self-reflecting and saying, "Man, yeah, just like some of these players, that I play with, like, I don't know where they get it from. They're at another level. They have a higher gear than me, and they're just so cocky and arrogant, and I think that's what's making them better than me, sort of thing." I'm
yeah,
paraphrasing Pulisic, but he's kind of admitting and being self-critical because look, he played at Chelsea, he's playing at Milan, and now because of those experiences, he's saying these sorts of things. He's like, "Yeah, man, I think I just have to like level myself up on that side of the equation to get to that next level." He's admitting it,
yeah,
that there's something internal, right? There's some lack of cockiness or arrogance or self-confidence that these other guys do have,
yeah,
and he doesn't have.
yeah. Well, don't you think it's amazing that a lot of times, like, you're obviously from Argentina, so you've had obviously Maradona, Messi, Chavez, Aguero. I mean, you go through it. These guys have been torn down either through life situations, hardships. It's interesting that people who come from the bottom shine brightest at the top.
Yeah. It's weird.
It it's kinda weird. It's kinda like, wait, don't you think you should be like and not to go off point, but, like, when I hear people talk about depression, I'm like, "Bro, I've seen a kid." I was in inner city DC, and this is an 8-year-old kid. His mom was a prostitute, bringing different guys in and out, you know what I mean, of the house. He had to take care of, and I'm not saying it's right. I mean, he's probably dealing with some trauma or something maybe, but I don't know now, but that kid would come every day with a smile on his face, bro. He's like, "I'm living." And he would come and play, and you would come and do that. I'm like, "Bro," I'm not saying it's right, anything this kid went through, but I'm like, bro, the shit that some of these kids are saying, or he came, I mean, one of them kids said, "Oh, my uncle got killed the other day." I'm not saying it's right. Wow, like the mental fortitude to come through. And so I think I remember who was saying it. There was someone was saying, I think it was Anthony Rudiger. They were speaking like, "Oh, do you feel pressure?" He's like, "No, pressure is when you don't have food to eat." He's like, "The people who have to figure out how you're going to eat, that's pressure." He's
Yeah,
like,
you're reminding me of I'm sure you've seen it probably, Shaq telling a story of when his dad, um,
"Mm,
right, like he played a shitty game and his dad fucking like beat him up for it. He's like, "Hey, like what the fuck? Like you folded against fucking Seattle Supersonics, whoever the fuck the game
yeah,
was." And he's like, what happened, Shaq? Like, why did you suck ass that game or something? And he's like, man, I don't know. I think, just pressure got to me or something like that or whatever. And he's like, all right, I want you to come over to my house like at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning, and he shows up and his dad drives him to some sort of bridge or underpass and he stops the car there, and they just sat there for an hour or two until dawn came up. When dawn came up, he saw like a family with children pop out of a freaking tent or cardboard box that was living under a bridge, basically. He's like, hey, this is what I brought you here for. You see that right there? That's pressure. You don't have any pressure. What you have is a joke, sort of basically, and it just was super impactful
Mental.
to the guy. Yeah, so much of it is mental. If there's something, if I'm asked the question, Gary, what have you learned in the past, 5 years or something like that in soccer, blah, 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 that you thought you knew and you don't know, or now or something, it's how important that mental side of the equation is when you get to the professional game. Because at the youth level, Kev, people always talk about, oh, he can do it at the youth level, but wait until he has to play against men. It's not about playing against men. It's not a physical thing. It's a mental thing, a resilience thing, a job thing, a responsibility commitment sort of thing. The mental side of the equation is everything, because at the youth level, all these guys who became pros at the youth level, they didn't have to go through hardship at the youth level. They were the stars on their youth teams. They always played on their youth teams. They were always given praise on their youth teams. They always made, little all-star games or youth national teams during their youth years. They were the man. They were covered by the media. You were the darling. You were the next big thing at the youth level. So there were no mental obstacles really during their youth career. And then they become a pro. And how do you handle that fucking thing? How do you handle when you are no longer the man? You're just some fucking number here who may or may not be starting. And if you don't start, how do you handle that? And if you do start half a season or entire season, you played 90 minutes for an entire season, and then next season they bring in they purchase two guys who are in your position.
Yeah.
And now you fold like a deck of cards, bro.
And then people are calling you out on this shit. And I mean, and that's what's happening overseas. Like, you're going to get criticized. Messi gets criticized, until he won this World Cup. Bro, like, into that first Copa, it was like, man, nah, don't even mention him with Maradona. That's what they would say.
Yeah.
Like, I know back home, I was reading, I'm like, hey, y'all need to relax. Nope. No letting off. Neymar, as great as he is, everybody's like, nope.
Yep.
No, we're not going to give him the credit. It's like they don't.
And here we're all, ooh, Captain America, and oh, you're so amazing. And oh yeah, it makes sense. He should take some time off so he's fresh for the World Cup. Like, bro, this is that is not a culture that is going to be triumphant. Okay.
No, you're not going to win, because you will find an excuse. The key thing is that logically you will find the excuse. And it's like, we have a culture of extraordinary people on an individual level, right? That people love, right? Even Larry Armstrong before his shit.
Sure.
Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, Neymar, people like David Goggins with the fitness. It's like, does it make sense, the stuff he does? No. Why do people listen to him? Because he's like, no, everything's mental. He's like, I'm fucking shit. I gotta go for it, right? That's why people are listening to his stuff. If he was normal like everyone else, everyone's like, oh, he's normal. I ain't gotta listen to him.
And it doesn't even have to be sports, Kephern. In all kinds of industries here in the United States, we have supreme global class superstars. You just name the industry, be it tech, be it you name it.
Yep.
We have monsters. We have Kobe Bryant's coming out of this country in all disciplines. So when it comes to soccer, this is also, aside from personal experience, this is also why I bang on the table with this point. When it comes to soccer here, it's not that we don't have that capability or that potential, but it's the cultures that we are discussing now are not allowed to rise, Kephern. They're not allowed to rise. Exactly. The Guatemalan Americans who were 90% filling the stadium rooting against the US men's national team there, they're here in this country. They're here. They're here. The Mexican Americans who just filled up the stadium now, they're here in this country. The Latinos are here. I am here.
Yeah.
Brian is here. You were here. We are here. But we're not allowed to rise. No. Exactly. The system is built for all that one monoculture that does not have it.
Yep.
That's what it's for. And just look, they're making a big deal. Look, I like Diego Luna. I have never. I always am on the side of the players. I want to support all the players. Okay, it's not their fault, and they're professional. All this stuff. But you look like Diego Luna. They're trying to hype him up to be like something amazing or the next big thing or something like that. That's soft culture when you're hyping somebody up like this. It's super soft. It's dumb.
Yeah.
And look, the kid is 22 years old. He's going to be
Right.
23, I think, next month.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
you're basically 23 years old and you're hyping this kid up, kind of coming at it from an angle like, oh, he's so young. He's got his ceiling is through the roof, all this stuff. And you just played the Mexican national team who has a 16-year-old starting and balling you up.
Mhm.
And then you see, and look, just I'm only referencing this name because it's a household name now that
Yep.
people can relate to. But we can rattle off 100 different names. So people could do their own homework.
Mm.
But everybody has seen Lamine Yamal when he's
Mm.
16 and
Yep.
17,
Yep.
being at that age, not only just playing on Barcelona no, arguably the best player in the world today is
Mhm.
him. He's in that conversation at 16, 17,
Yep.
17.
Yep.
And you're making all this hype about somebody who's going to turn 23 years old, Diego Luna. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, but it's being that you also don't have for the size of the country, from all the investment, from all the money, all the stuff we talked about that's happened. We're still not producing, not just even producing the players that were better or that are better than past years, but mentally they're worse.
Oh, they're worse. Yes, you are correct.
They're
They're
mentally
worse.
worse. Like they're not used to things going against them in life, and it's like I did see something just a little bit on Twitter. It was talking about Kevin Sullivan. I guess he had his first start for
Mhm.
Philly, first game, and said, "Oh, his struggle wasn't good." And then I saw someone say, "Oh, you shouldn't put him on. You shouldn't put him on because he's not ready." And I'm like, "Bro, I would actually put him in the fucking fire right now because he hasn't been through shit.
Yep.
Like, you got to put him. In fact, he needs to go straight to the bottom where he feels like shit, and then he's gonna build himself up, and then that'll get him ready." But because I'm like, we're dealing with different. I'll take this from my own son, right? My son here in the Dutch system, he was part of AZ Alkmaar's like pre-academy thing, right? And I kept telling him, I was like, bro, you're not ready. You're not meant to be. He's talking like, I'm all right. I had a trip to Barcelona where I brought, we did mid cup.
Yeah.
I brought some Dutch kids and some American kids, put together a team, headed out there. My son wanted to go. I said, you don't work hard enough. You're not going. What? And he thought I was joking. All his best friends went. Everyone went. Like, I said, no, you're fucking going. The parents like, are you serious? I'm like, fuck yes, I'm serious. He's not going. I'm like, what are you guys trying to teach? I was like, you think because he's my son. I was like, I don't even coach his team. If I coach his team, he's have to be on the bench a lot of times. All because, and I've already told a lot of people, I said, look, if my son makes it, he's going to hit failure first because of the type of person he is. He's arrogant. He's sometimes a little bit of a prick, which is fine. I like him to have that side. He believes in himself. But because he's over here, it's too sweet for him. How is he going to make it? Complete, utter failure. Wall hits him, and he's like, damn, okay. And he's 10.
Yeah.
I'm chilling, but it's going to come. What do you want to become, and how are you going to do it? Burn the boats. I like that one. Now, what do? Do you want to stay at this little club, or are you going to listen, or are you going to do what you have to, right? That's my mentality towards it. That's how it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Yes, I be on him. I train him. I do stuff. That's maybe a piece of it. But the real piece is going to happen when he finally takes it in. If he's going to do it. He may never do it. I would love him to do it, right? My ex-wife's like, oh, man, you just want to be a soccer player. You saw him. I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, in a selfish way, I do. There's no problem. It's fine if he does something else. But yes, I would be hella proud if he did it. But the only way he's going to do it is this changes, right? So yes, he's going to have to miss things and do certain things. Yes, it's a little bit irrational and all these things. Yeah, but it comes from a spiritual place. So I'm going to drop my son in Colombia with those kids. I'll go to Brazil. I'm going to go to Paris. I got boys, I go to these places. I don't have to always just go to training sessions and train at the nicest places. No, fuck that. They don't need that. He needs the other side.
Yeah.
And I would tell anybody, your listeners, if they got kids and stuff like that, man. I used to tell, one of the players I worked with that came over here, he actually signed the MLS homegrown. Me and his dad are close. And I told him, I said, bro, when his kid was 10 or 11, he came over to Holland. He's like, what should I do with him in the state? Because I was leaving. I was gone from the States at that time. I said, man, if you can find those, mostly the Latin leagues play some Caribbean. In DC, you get some Caribbean cultures and African cultures playing too. Bro, bring them there. Have them play with those kids as much as possible. Because it's not just if they're good players. That's not just it, right? Because you'll see, like, even when people see street soccer sometimes in other countries, some of these kids that are talented, sometimes they're playing with kids that are shit,
Yeah,
overweight.
totally.
They're not good. But, it's like little fights. It's just the culture of the game, you know? It's like sometimes you're playing, you're the best. Sometimes you're playing, you're the worst. But you are actually getting all these different elements that did prepare you to be in a team, right?
Yeah.
Where in our USU soccer bubble or ecosystem, if your kid is the best, you're used to it. So as a parent, my kid's the best. The best. He should get this. He should get that. He should get this. He should get that. I'll fall out with you in a second. Because I'm like, nope. He should be getting on. I'm on you the most.
Yeah.
Because you got to get it through your head that this, and then this is not to be on you to put you down. This is to actually build you up. Because if you can take everything that we're throwing at you here, we just getting prepared for the real world out there.
Yeah.
You know what? This is why I compared to not youth soccer, but like I said, I like to start from the root because then I think it explains the end, in my opinion. It's like you take a lion that's been raised in a zoo and you throw him in the pride lands. What do you think is going to happen? He's going to fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally. Yeah, totally, man. Or every dog, descendant from a wolf.
Mhm.
And you know what kind of dogs we've got nowadays through selective breeding. They
Mhm.
become domesticated. They are domesticated animals at this point. They have a little bit of wolf in them, but it's like 1% wolf at this point. They have been domesticated,
Yep.
neutered. Their DNA is completely been obliterated. And if you put a house dog, right, out in the wild, even though he's a derivative of a wolf, you're dead. You are dead. A coyote will take down somebody. I mean, you're dead. You have no chance. You don't even have a clue as to how to survive, man. So I'm with you, man. It's very much along those similar lines. And I think this is why, when you said that you're the hardest on the best players, and then you have friction or maybe, falling out with the family or the parents because you're being tough on them and they're not used to that. They want something else. This is precisely why parents get lied to in the United States by their coaches, by the club directors, by the clubs, by everybody. You get lied to because we all, as practitioners, know the vast majority of you, okay? Maybe there's an exception out there. I'm sure everybody thinks that they're exception to the rule, but it's not true, okay? The fact of the matter is we all know that if we tell you the truth, it's not gonna go well. It's not gonna go well.
It's not going to
So
make you feel good.
no, so we just, lube up with the Vaseline and then, just it's,
Yeah.
keep it
Yep.
smooth.
Yeah, go. No, man, you're so right because everyone's scared about losing the money.
No, or the money, and even if it's like a free to play and they're not even paying or something, you lose the player.
You
You
lose the
lose the
point.
player. They just go somewhere else.
You go somewhere else, but you don't get them prepared for the like I always say. I was like, man, I'm preparing you for your last coach. That's all. I'm just a stopgap. I'm preparing you for your last coach.
Yeah.
And when the pressure's on, when his job's on the line, I think we've talked about this before too. I was like, look, if you're a pro coach at any level, top 3 divisions or any divisions here in Europe or South America, you got about 6 weeks, my man.
Yeah. Totally.
Lose 4 games in a row. Already a new coach about to come in. 6 weeks. People don't really peep that. They just think it's like sweet. They just think like, no, bro, like you are really like 2 bad games in a row that already start saying 3, the 4th you gotta save it. They gotta win for you. They lose that, they're pretty much saying, yeah, look at the Tottenham coach. Wins the trophy. First trophy they won in years. Everyone's so happy. Nope. Bye-bye. League was horrible.
Yeah.
Hopefully you won that trophy for us. They created a Champions League, but we're going a different direction. Bye-bye. So that means,
100%.
how do you think he has to be on the players every day? How much you have to push? And I'm not saying these are right decisions. I'm just saying, I think people want things fair and right. And we all know that in business and all these things, nothing's ever fair and right. It's mostly like, who's ready to persevere beyond all the bullshit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that, like, if like I said, I get a lot of people saying they want their kids to play overseas and they want to do this and do that. And I'm like, yeah, moving over is just a part of it. That's just a part of it. Great. You moved over. Now are you ready to deal with all the other side? So it's just really not for everyone, which is, like I said, which is fine. And so, like, going back to the full national team, it's like, okay, you're going against cultures that are in an ecosystem where this is spiritual to them, this is religious to them. Their whole family watches the game together, they chant together. So then making it to the top means something for the whole community, everybody, really means something. If you're an MLS player, maybe a couple of people in your neighborhood know, maybe. And I'm
Yeah.
not clowning them because you have achieved something. Like, so
Yeah.
I hope everybody understands. I'm not clowning. I want everybody to really kind of grasp what I'm saying. And it's not their fault. The ecosystem and the environment and culture that's been built around them doesn't allow, like, the college football, college basketball culture is different, right? When they put that hat on, like, oh, I'm going to LSU, Alabama, the whole community going crazy. Like, you made it out, you're going to do something big. You know what I mean? We don't have that.
Yeah.
Our players don't feel that. So they don't even feel that big praise that they need. And they also don't feel the big pressure or the pressure of football, like, because there's not enough love, there's not enough criticism, there's not enough anything to make it happen. So, like I said, when I look at the full national team, I keep asking the question. Like I said, in 9 years, we potentially have Diego Luna, who's going to help from that league in 9 years. I mean, I know Adams played in a little bit in the league and all those things, but like,
But they weren't built there. They weren't built. I saw.
yeah,
I don't know if you noticed that Eric Wynalda started a podcast of his own, and
yeah, I've seen
I
that.
and
Yeah,
I tell everybody, and it's the truth. I don't read soccer books. I don't read like soccer articles written by reporters and stuff. I don't listen to soccer podcasts made by Americans and stuff like that.
yeah,
None of that shit. I'm not exposed to any of that sort of stuff. I'll
yeah,
catch a headline here or there once in a while, and the Wynalda, an episode Wynalda came across my feed at some point. I saw it was 8 minutes long. Somebody had mentioned, "Oh, you really should give it a go, Gary. I know you don't listen to this stuff anyway." So I
yeah,
gave it a go, and he says a lot of he's one of the few
yeah.
truth tellers over here. One of the few guys with some balls, right? And
Mhm.
obviously, he suffered the consequences, right, of
Yeah,
telling the truth because they don't let him participate in the ecosystem really at the higher levels. But he was basically saying, one, the quality of the American player has not really changed at all. He's saying it. He's
mm,
like, hey, everybody over here wants to convince you that there is this golden generation or things we're developing players way better now than before. I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're
mm,
not. We're the same. And by the way, MLS is actually harming our player development in many respects. And he's like, and look at our current national team. If we want to consider who is the A team, so to speak, none of those guys was really developed here. Christian Pulisic, not an American, not an MLS product.
mm,
Chris Richards didn't play MLS. Yes, he was at FC Dallas, for like a
a
tiny little
minute.
instant, but he didn't play Major League Soccer. He
Yep,
bounced,
yep,
immediately.
yep,
Weston McKennie bounced
mhm,
immediately. Also, he didn't play here. He's not a product of here. He
yep,
was fucking forged in the professional game over there. Tyler Adams, he's like, oh yeah, Tyler Adams. Okay, he played some Major League Soccer, but not too much, right? Maybe it
yep,
was like maybe max 2 years. I don't remember off the top of my head. Max 2 years, and he's out of here. Also,
yep,
Anthony Robinson, not American. Serginho Dest, not American. So you go through the whole laundry list of the top guys for our national team. And he's like, look, and back when I played, like most all of us weren't from here either. He goes through the laundry list, right? It's Claudio Reyna,
mm,
son of Argentine, no, Argentine. Tab Ramos,
yep,
Uruguayan,
yep, yep.
Thomas Dooley,
I remember
German,
that, Deli, yep.
Aaron Stewart, Dutch, and he goes through the whole crew and he's like, we're not from here, really.
Yeah, they had to go, yeah, they had to dip into a different culture to
Yeah,
actually give the players that can do it.
correct. You had to dip into the other culture. We
Mhm.
don't we don't produce here, man. We don't produce because we don't give the people with the culture in our country the opportunity to rise.
Oh, 100%, 100%. No,
I
it
feel look, can I want to ask you this question. I
yeah,
want your reaction to it. African American, obviously, you can speak to this a lot more than I can for all the reasons, right? Political reasons, socio, whatever the fuck.
yeah,
The NBA went all black at some point, when it wasn't black. And so then it became, I don't know, what do I know? But then it became like, okay, finally the right culture,
Mhm,
when they were given the opportunity, took over the whole fucking thing,
mhm,
basically, from a talent perspective, from a
mhm.
performance perspective. I want you to comment on that because I feel it's the same with soccer here in the United States. If the gates were open to the cultures who actually have it, who it is
Love it,
spiritual
yeah.
and passion, it's over. It's over for suburbia. You are none of you in suburbia, almost none of you are even gonna make it to the professional game here in the US. It's all gonna be Mexican Americans, Latino
Yeah.
Americans, European Americans. None of you white people are making it to the top of soccer.
No, I mean, and it's really it's not even on race or anything. It's just like I said, it's culture. It's like the suburban culture, and
You
I
know what
mean,
I mean. You know what I mean by white.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
what
yeah.
it's yeah, it's like I said, it's like you take something, and then a group of people begin to do it, right? Um, whether it be sport, music, they begin to do it, but they also begin to challenge each other every day at it too. Right?
Mhm,
Hip
mhm.
hop, rap, singing, R&B, cooking, doesn't matter. There's a culture, like how do you develop cultures, right? It's because a group of people start to do a similar thing, but within their own expression. That's the
Mhm.
way I look at when you look at football, right? Um, and it becomes irrationally the number one thing, in your life, So like you said, the NBA, the basketball, these kids were playing every day in the park. Then it started from there. Then from every day in the park, it went from, okay, now we join the organization. The organization wasn't first. The organization was like, it's just a platform. And that's where we missed it. We're thinking the platform is what really the platform is essentially like the developer. No, the platform is to take the culture, right? Maybe let me phrase that better. The platform is to take the culture, showcase the culture, and help develop it to then get it ready for the top level, right? We're missing the first piece heavily. Then at the second piece, the organization part, you're shutting out the people through various reasons who who can actually showcase what's in America because like we said, like I told people, I'm like, I've been over here. I'm like, man, pro rel, 10, 10 years, one of the best in the world. 15 years, we're kicking everyone's ass.
It's over.
Over.
It's over.
I'm telling you, we'll kick Brazil's ass. We'll
It's
kick,
over.
we'll Argentina, done. We kick because the combination of the different mixes of cultures plus the money and the
Mhm.
infrastructure, it's over.
It's
I was like,
over.
they're not messing with us. You get some arrogant Americans with money who are like, "Oh, I can build something. You doing something. Oh, we competing. Game over." That's what people don't understand. There's no money over here. All the Dutch
Yeah.
clubs,
Yeah.
I get people saying, I'm talking about some big Dutch clubs, by the way.
Yeah.
Like not the two biggest, but 4, 5, 6. Hey, is there some American investors? Because we don't have nobody Dutch who could buy this thing, who wants to. I'm trying to tell you, the money's coming from us over there, and they're competing over here now rather than taking that money and going there and opening it up. I've met parents who have, when you tell them about stuff, and you know what? That's all. Oh, really?
You need 3 million and we can buy a second division club or something?
We could
Oh,
do
really?
this.
All right, let's figure this out.
Let's
Mhm.
figure it out. And I was like, we're from the country. We actually have that culture of creating business and doing things around it. And I'm like, guys, we're missing that total piece. And so like you said, so like we were saying, it's like when you took the NBA and all that stuff, all it was is that they saw, oh, they're playing, and we see that if we bring them in, we're going to make this a different we have a different product, a different culture, and they're better. It's not better. It's not better on race things. It's more because it's the culture of where they're derived from, right? Just like
Yeah.
now with the NBA, it's all the former players' sons making it because they know how to professionalize them early. There's a culture.
No,
It's how you train.
it's the culture, Kev, because again, it's not a race thing, even though I said white boy and all that stuff. Because
Yeah, it's
I
culture.
think about in the NBA, look at what's his name? Jason Williams,
Yeah,
back in our day, right?
world taco.
They
Yeah,
white chocolate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Fucking supreme baller and
yeah,
have the respect of the entire league, one of the best players in the league, total white boy,
yeah.
but he wasn't a white
He was from
cultured
a culture.
boy. You know
He's
what I'm
from a
saying?
different culture. Yeah, he's
He's
playing every
not.
day, playing for like there's so much and it's like if you want to go somewhere it's like, oh, if I want to go to do Muay Thai, right? I go to Thailand. Why?
Right.
It's the culture. It's every day. Like they define themselves through it. Like I, that's just the simplest way to explain it. So, and it's hard. And like I said, listen, there is a suburban soccer culture. Like I said, it's very competitive from U9 to U13 in terms of like being in a team.
Yeah.
Being in a team and like, oh yeah, we got to go to this tournament. We're going here to this tournament. We got this event. We got to go to that event, and that used to drive me crazy. See,
Yeah.
then I was the other way. I wasn't spiritual about that at all. I was like, oh my gosh, why do you gotta go to New Jersey again? I do not want to go. I was like, guys, why don't we just go to a field? Let's go train. Let's play around here. Why do we got to travel for all this stuff we do? But the culture there is so deep in it, it's like parents, oh, well, we're not at this event. We got to be at this event. Because if
Yeah.
we're not at this event, and I'm like, bro, you don't have to be at that event. Trust me. It's not, it is not going to really mean anything for the long. Like, okay, it's cool to go to these events sometimes, but you don't have to go to 6 or 7 of these in a year. You don't.
Yeah.
You're spending so much money. But again, this is where the culture that they build is around money, it's around this. And so I
And
get it.
you've seen, have you seen the NBA, the OG NBA players, the Kevin Garnett's, the Charles Oakley's, all those guys comment on the current generation of NBA players that
Oh,
it's
yeah,
all
big scandal.
the whole league is soft.
Yep,
It's not the same anymore. They're all pussies. They're all like, oh, my pinky got hurt, and I need to take
yep,
two games off or something like this.
yep.
That it's completely, the culture there has even been
It's been shifted.
shifted.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's
And it's probably not a coincidence why more and more foreigners are becoming the best players in the NBA.
never you never heard that in Jordan's, even
No
Kobe's like,
chance.
Kobe would be like, "No, what? Winning MVPs? You
Yeah,
couldn't win MVP over me?
yeah,
Never." Like, he would
yeah,
have been competitive on that tip. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, obviously, I don't live in the States, but I'm saying, like, a majority, like, life in America even for some immigrants in America, like, you hear I heard it from some people, like, whether from Mexico or from El Salvador or from Jamaica or whatever, they said their kids, even though their kids are immigrants, they're like, "Man, they're soft compared to where we came from."
totally, totally. So that's the only thing that holds me back a little bit or makes me think twice about, oh man, the Guatemalan Americans, the Mexican Americans, all that stuff, because the kids who were born and raised here, if they're like second generation, third generation already, so many of them anyway are so whitewashed that they're basically soft suburbanites anyway. Even
Mm,
even if they're like poor, or close to the poverty line, and their whole family of six is living in a one bedroom or two bedroom apartment or something like that, and they're barely making ends meet, they're still kind of soft because I don't know. You still can get in and out when you want to get in and out. You can still like, go.
and
It's still not hard living.
yeah. No, you gotta sometimes you gotta drop them off at home and say, "Hey, here for the summer." That's what my mom used to drop me in Garrisburg, North Carolina with my cousins, and I just knew it was on. I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, it was like, bro, I went from, "Oh, man, nice." I was living in Washington State, not Tacoma, I can't remember the city, but Tacoma, Washington, somewhere around there, to Garrisburg, North Carolina. I'm
Yeah,
walking around with my cousins. An uncle gets in a fight with his, nephew. Nephew 16, uncle's like maybe 25, almost 30. And just seeing that, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, this is a different world. And it doesn't mean that, I hope people don't correlate, like, being in like being in that environment means you're gonna be a better soccer player or all those things. It's just like, it's actually just a mental survival thing, which is, like I said, you can, Tony Cruz played all those years at Real Madrid. He's not from any place that we're describing.
yeah,
Totally get it. But he is from a very fucking demanding soccer culture.
yeah,
Germans don't play around.
yeah,
They say what they say. Like, criticism, like, he got sold from Bayern Munich. Yeah, I think he had problems with, but like, he's from a demanding culture. The problem is that our suburban culture is not demanding. It's very
yeah,
protective. It doesn't prepare you, it protects you. So that's not going to prepare you to actually, what's going to protect you is when you're prepared.
yeah.
They actually go the opposite way. They we protect you. No, then when you got to be there and fight for something, it's like, oh man, it's like you're just not ready.
Yeah, and they're not ready, and they're not ready here from a fan perspective either to kind of go against the institutions or the club. Let's say you're a fan of an MLS franchise.
Mm.
The fans here who are a fan of those things aren't equipped with rooting against your own club when shit is not being done right, or you
Yeah.
guys suck. They say they have it backwards. They're like, oh no, till I die, support at all costs. You got to be there in the good times, you got to be there in the bad times, sort of thing. Like I understand the psychology and the logic and all that stuff, but I don't think they're aware. Like for instance, in Argentina, you you don't fucking just support just because. You could be a Boca fan for 35 years, but
Yeah.
if the team is losing games or is shocking, they are not happy and they are not going to put up with that bullshit. And they're going to call out the president, the vice president, the whole institution. Fuck you, get the fuck out. Like bad, Kev. Last year, the Galaxy, right, won, right, MLS Cup. And look, this year they're dead fucking last. They've won two games in 20 or something like this. I don't even know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't,
MLS standings. Hold on. I want to be accurate about this because I think it's an important illustrative point
Mhm.
to make. Let's see. Western Conference. LA Galaxy has played 21 games and has won 2. They are dead last in the entire freaking league. Okay.
Wow.
And yeah, you see a little bit on Twitter, a little bit on Instagram, some comments from the fans or the supporter groups. Hey, what the fuck? This ain't right or something.
Yeah.
But it's so ridiculously Charmin soft, Kev.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Real Madrid wins La Liga,
Yeah.
and next year
Last
they
place.
win 2 out of 22 games. Well, come on, man. That doesn't happen, bro.
Oh my man, I already know if the players have to get armed security to leave the club every day
There's
because the
no
thing that
way.
they couldn't
And
be
and
driving
look,
up there.
no, and look, and for folks in the audience, if you are having a logical reaction to what I said, and the logical reaction makes you want to scream, "Oh, but Gary, you can't compare because Real Madrid has all this money, so of course they won't be in
70
last place
years.
next."
Yeah.
You're missing the whole fucking point. That's not the fucking point.
Well, Gary, just think about it, like, our relationship goes back 15 years, right? Just imagine if we had been allowed to build how we wanted to build for the past 15 years. Where would we be within the US infrastructure? I probably
I'd
wouldn't
have
I wouldn't be.
I'd have a professional club. I would be part owner in a professional club. I'd have investors also, and we would have, I don't know if we'd have a 5,000 seat stadium. We'd be competing somewhere in the pyramid. And me and Brian and whoever is the crew would be building like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And we would have a packed stadium and we would have fans across the country because of what we had already built up leading
Mhm.
to that point. We already had a large audience that would support us from every corner of the country to see how the 343 club would do,
Yep.
in
Exactly.
the pyramid. And we're so maniacal and passionate about it that we would work every second of every day to identify the best technical staffs, to identify the best business people, to identify the best players, to recruit and get scout. We'd build the motherfucker like you wouldn't believe, Kephern.
But what would make you better is that other people see what you're doing, and you would meet other people with the same desire,
Totally.
and rivalries would start, hatred would start,
It'd be real. Well,
it'd be real.
there would be a real hatred between, our organization
Respect, but
and
hatred.
well, but there's already an ingrained rivalry from a political, social, economic, and cultural perspective with the establishment. So if I started that club here in Orange County, Southern California, there would be an authentic, real rivalry with like the LA Galaxy, a
Mhm.
real authentic rivalry with LAFC, but for real, not manufactured. We're
Yeah.
anti-establishment. We're anti them, and our whole crew knows that. All
Yep.
our audience knows that,
Yep.
and they're against us for all the same sort of anti reasons. So when we would play each other, it'd be absolute warfare, in the stands, crazy warfare,
Who's trying to win?
and
Yep.
notice what I said, in the stands,
Mhm.
right? On the field, obviously, but in the stands. And people might think like, oh, you can't play at that level. Yes, we fucking can.
Of
Brian,
course.
as I just told you, right, took over this USL League One team, brand new franchise, and he's second in the table at the moment. And
Yeah.
he played in the Open Cup. He beat, Orange County FC, which has been here forever, right? USL Championship. He advanced. Was it Orange County? I don't remember who the heck he beat. I think it was. Yeah, and just advanced 2 or 3 levels deep and played FC Dallas. In FC Dallas, like he had to travel over to FC Dallas, obviously, because it's rigged in favor of MLS, of course. FC Dallas played their starting lineup. They played Lucho, the DP and stuff. They took it serious. And they split possession 50-50. Brian had more shots than they had shots, but they had the quality of finishing the chances, and they did, and they won. They won FC Dallas won 3-1. But look at the context. Brian had this team for a total of like 7 competitive matches ever in the history of the organization, and went over and played Dallas in Dallas and competed. Imagine if we were able to build our own thing for over the course of years, bro. We would wipe the floor with people, dude.
Yeah, but again, you can see how just the emotions that just that you thinking about, you see it, you feel it. You know what I mean?
Man.
It's not just, and that would drive you to produce something great. And I've had players play at MLS academies, and I'll be like, "Oh, your team's in the playoffs. Are you going?" I don't really care. Like,
nobody cares. Nobody cares. They don't care. The academy players, and I told this to, I'm not going to name names, but I told this to like a general manager and a sporting director and stuff. I'm like, hey, do you think the players at your academy, I'm talking about MLS, okay? Do you think the players at your academy, do you think they can name the starting lineup of the first team? No fucking chance. No, they can't. They won't. They don't care. Kephern.
Yeah, they don't watch. So that's what I'm like. I don't see how that changes. I don't see how you're going to produce potential world-class talent out of there. Like, and it's not for me to just tell everyone move overseas, but like, I mean, if you're serious about it, I don't see how you do it stateside. Too long. I just don't see how you do it, because it's like Reggie Cannon said a couple years back when he went to Portugal, his eyes were open. The way he talked about it, you saw in his eyes, you saw in his almost. And of course, that went against the whole narrative, but like Klinsmann was saying, and it's not because they're saying, oh, it's better. We're only saying because it's the culture. That's number one. We're not even talking about soccer education, all this other stuff. Like we say to people, it's like, do American coaches have access to all the material and soccer education that's around the world? Yes, we have more video, more everything, even from 15 years ago. Like, there's way more. Like, you can see how to do a training session. You can have the you can have the Barcelona coach of methodology come over. You can have the Real, you can have the top guys come over, run camps for you, do all these things for you, which we do. We spend the most money on all these things.
That's the easy part.
Easy part. All these things come over, and we still have who? Like, who? And I'm like, are people really like peeping this? Because like every year I've been over here, I always ask. I'm like, you probably see me on Twitter. I don't say it too much anymore, but I've said it before. I'm like, hey, is there any young and up and coming player in MLS I should be paying attention to? It's always crickets. Like, oh, it's this guy. It was a Caldwell. No, was his name Caldwell? A couple years back. No,
Kate Cowell.
Kate Cowell. I heard about him. Then there was the guy from FC Dallas that you would always mention, but you was like, okay, I can't. The people were rating him too high. Whoa, white kid, left foot.
Oh, Paxton Pomacall? No.
Yes. But I'm just saying, like, people. These are names that I would kind of hear pop up, and I'm not hating on these guys. These guys are pro. It's nothing like that. My point is that Barcelona was in all their shit, and 3 or 4 players show up. Like, they know what they have to do. Like, they're in a business. They're like, yo, Real has all this money. They haven't been spending money. Like, they can't even spend money, really. Yeah. Real's like, oh, go get Jude. Go get Mbappe. Go get who? Who's who? You know what I mean? And look at the competition they're in, and they're winning the league, and they got to fight. Like, they're organizations against organization. Well, the whole culture around it, the whole, everything around it gets you to that level so you can compete against a Real who's like, okay. Or you look at PSG, or you look at all these other clubs and institutions. Like, the culture is what pushes you to that point. And so, like, when people look at all this stuff, they're like, oh, we're doing better. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, man, we need some players. Like, you know what's crazy? Think about it. U17 World Cup, 1999. Donovan and Beasley won gold and silver ball.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know. I didn't know they. I didn't know they went like 1-2 like that. I know they
think
did
so.
good.
I'm gonna find. I don't want to say it's wrong, but for sure, I think they both won something. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, bro. Nothing's really the level. We haven't gotten better. Gary Kephern, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? We have players in Europe. We have players in the Premier League. We have players in Juventus.
Right.
Tim Weah and these guys or whatever. Bro, first and foremost, like I said before, most all those guys were not produced here. Really. Okay.
Yep.
They bounced when they were 15, 16, 17, 18. They're out of here and meet right away. Okay.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, you're getting bamboozled by the pedigree of the club name. Okay. And let me be clear. I think nobody is adjusting for how the rest of the world also got better. So yes, if I were to take Eric Wynalda and put him side by side with who's a Balogun or something like that, who's a striker, or Josh Sargent, put him side by side now, like who's better? Maybe the current guy is better if you place them side by side now, but you're not adjusting for the improvement of the rest of the world. Okay. So Eric Wynalda, compared to his contemporaries in his generation across the world, may even have been better than Josh Sargent or Balogun or Ricardo Pepi are compared to their current competition around the world. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Like everybody has gotten better too. So it's like, have we closed the gap essentially with the rest of the world? And my answer is absolutely not. We have not closed any sort of gap. We may have even gone backward. Honestly, it's possible that we're not as good as we used to be. It's a possibility.
What would happen without the dual nationals?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the dual nationals that did not develop here. I mean, did not develop in the U.S. But like you got to really break this down. Like it would be Tyler Adams, Pulisic, Chris Richards,
Kenny.
Who?
McKennie, right? He was born here. Yeah.
So that'd be the 5. Everyone else is, I think, a big time dual national. Musa, Balogun, Anthony Robinson,
Dest.
That's getting close to 50% of the team almost. That you know that you have to count on.
Yes.
There's like no one behind him. That's a problem that I want people to say is like, not only are they starters, there's no one behind them that has the level to say, if they're not there, for a country our size, you only have another 5 to add to those 5 that should be better or at the same level.
Right.
And listen, they talk about this stuff between themselves like, damn, man, ain't nobody coming from MLS. You don't think those dudes talk like that? Of course they talk like that.
Of course.
They're like, damn, this is shit.
They know, bro. They
know. They like, man.
I came across another clip. I need to find it. Somebody sent it to me. It was who's that center back that played also in the Premier League, who was part of the Jurgen Klinsmann group on the national team. It's not Brooks. John Anthony Brooks. There was his other pairing. It's not coming to me at the moment, but they sent me an audio clip. He was on some sort of podcast, and he was clowning on MLS like you wouldn't believe. He was saying, "Man, there's like no promotion or relegation over there. Like nobody gives a fuck every game. It's like, oh, if you lose, it's not really that big of a deal, And even if your whole season is blown, if you're even a remotely decent player that that you're going to be there next season, they won't just cut you or something like that. You don't give a fuck. You're like, okay, it's fine. Like come back next season. And the whole it goes beyond the players. The whole organization is like that. The whole organization is kind of like, hey, we lost against Philadelphia today. Okay, who we got next? Oh, we got Houston on Wednesday. Oh, okay, cool. We'll see you in Houston. Bro.
And this is not the fault of the players. And this is not, like I said, it's the whole ecosystem that gets you ready.
But you can't, as a player, even if you wanted to be hardcore here,
it's hard.
like you can't be hardcore because the whole environment isn't hardcore. Like you'll actually, like how you were saying, you'll actually stick out, and the other players and the institution itself will be like, hey, calm down, relax. Like, why are you being so hardcore about things? Like the whole environment won't let you be hardcore, even if you want to be hardcore as a player in MLS.
No. Yeah, it'll just be like, this is what we're doing, and everyone just gets on with it. So that's what I'm saying. I had prayed for the national team. I don't know if Pochettino wants to I mean, obviously it's an incredible job. It's incredible to coach a national team when they're hosting a World Cup. So I know he obviously wants to do it. I wonder if he will stick it out though, if too much, like, will he put his name on something? Because this was a crazy thing. I thought because we're having the World Cup, my mind going back to the old American mindset teams, like we're rah-rah, we're gonna give 100%, doesn't matter if we're playing shit or not. I was like, bro, I could see us getting the quarterfinals just off of that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the rah-rah, like not saying we're good, we'll beat somebody we're not supposed to beat. And now I'm like, we might, or we make it out the round.
it's doubtful, right? Well, I think the group for sure because of it's an expanded
We're,
tournament, so you have
yeah,
more
yeah, yeah,
narrows now. So
yeah, yeah, we'll get
you'll
out.
make it out of the group. But you're right, dude. Like before, I'm like, you're at home. You know,
US.
the home teams in the World Cup always outperform, dude. That
Yeah, they're
you,
gonna run the extra miles. I mean, listen, they're gonna work hard. I mean,
yeah.
these guys professionals. They're gonna work hard. This is not to go at them like
But
that. It's just
there's doubt. There's doubt though. There's doubt.
there's doubt because we're not connected, and you got to be. And listen, it's okay to go through problems before, and you know, it's a filling out process. So maybe this needed to happen, right? Which is fine. The pool is just saying maybe it needed to happen now before you know everything with the World Cup. So it's great it happened now. Just a lot needs to come together, but people also have to start waking up to the fact that in our lifetimes, you know, maybe you'll be dead before another. Well, they've been. Who knows? They might sneak another World Cup over here by 2040, whenever the next one is. But in our lifetime, this is the most important World Cup ever for America,
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
There's
Hmm.
nothing comes close. You know, I think the players know that. I think if they don't, they definitely should, and I think they will. I think our fan base should know that. I think everybody that's been developing should know that. I think everyone at these MLS club. It's like, man, I don't know. Like when I came over here, I've traveled a lot in my life, right? Like lived, like having to live in different places. And I think it helped me because you come in as like a new kid in school, new person on the block, and people try to fill you out, right? I never wanted to be someone, it made me really competitive because I never wanted to come in and be like, oh, he's not good. We're not putting you on the basketball team, kickball team, soccer team. Oh, you're slow, so you got to run. You know, it's like, it was always competitive, right? When our players go over to Europe, they respect you a little bit more now. Like they don't clown you. It's a little bit different, but it's like, what do you want to be seen as? Like, where's your ego at? Like, you know, like that's the thing. You want to go over and show them like you got something about yourself, right? That you're not just there. And I think a lot of times like that's not being transmitted. It's like you're representing something. So like when they see an American, they see, oh, you know, like me being over here coaching and doing certain stuff. Like, bro, I haven't even done that much coaching over here, but I brought an American group over and oh, we played Bayern Munich, right? Recently. Played Bayern Munich in the Mid Cup. So I had a couple of Americans and I had 7 Dutch kids through Americans. Crazy, right? That was an experience, by the way. Dutch kids are they're pretty more talkative than Americans. But so we won our first game easily. Spain, fine, whatever. The Spanish, like local team, fine. We played a second game. We actually lose the second game. We were probably better, but we were just the kids don't know each other, and there's a little bit of bickering and all that. Fine, it happens. So we're playing Bayern Munich. So Bayern Munich is like, oh, we beat the second team. We beat them down, so we're gonna tear y'all up, you know, easy. And I remember coaching the group. I'm on them, and I'm like, guys, you represent something here. Like we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna have to bring it, man. First half ends up 1-1, and they couldn't fucking believe it. They were like, "What?" Like, you know, they were surprised. It was just, you know, I tried to transmit a feeling and a culture to them and a mindset to them, and I also was representing U.S. coaches. I represented something, and after that game, yeah, we lost in the end. I mean, they brought on some people. You know, it got difficult. We lost. I think it ended up being like it was like 3-2 with like 10 minutes to go, and then they peppered us, and it ended up being like 8-3. They took over and won. Fine. The coach comes up to me, says, "Ooh, you guys are tough." Like, and you know, they don't have to say it. You know, nobody just shake your hands and leave. The Bayern Munich coaches came over and said, "No, you guys are tough. You guys are tough." I think, yeah, we only had it for like 3 days. This as a group, you know, it's not a team. But to get the respect from them, and from them to be like, I know I represent something, you know, as a coach, so that they're like, oh, these guys, she knows what the fuck he's talking.
It shows your pride. You have pride.
I have pride. I don't
Here,
care.
but here, dude, they want you to get rid of your pride. They say pride is bad. Don't be a proud person. But you know this.
Yeah,
That
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they say, oh, pride goeth before the fall. You know, they try to
Yeah.
they try to make us all fucking like stoic, unpassionate automatons. They
Yep.
literally say having pride is a bad thing or
Yep.
being like arrogant. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
no, well,
Yep.
don't confuse it with arrogance. Don't call Zlatan Ibrahimovic arrogant. It's a different thing. I'm sorry
Bro,
that you don't see it.
bro, and I'm not saying this is right, but like like I said, a lot of people come from the backgrounds that we're talking about. Bro, we haven't had a lot. We haven't had a lot. It's I'm surprised that when I have something now, I'm like, oh, I want to be proud of me.
Yeah.
I did something for this. I worked for this. And a lot of coaches and a lot of people don't see that. They don't understand it. So they think, oh, you're just trying to be big and show off.
Right.
Right. Motherfucker, if you saw where I
So
grew up,
so what if I wanna be big and fucking show off and all the fuck? Who give
do,
fuck
do,
you?
do, do,
Yeah,
do you
fuck
see
yeah.
do you see where I grew up? Do you see
Yeah.
what I did every day? Do you see what I had to go through? I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I don't know how long, then rest in peace, Diego. You don't even know how long you got.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's like they we wanna live, Kev. We wanna live. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like have the highest highs, and I know that comes with lowest lows also, you know,
What you
this sort of
experiencing?
roller coaster. We wanna live. But here in the States, like the dominant culture, wants to they wanna control you and not have huge highs and lows. Like, ooh, that's a bad way to live. Just be even like
Yep.
this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Stable, stability, you
Yeah.
know, sustainability, you know,
Yeah. But
all these sorts of words, like don't go crazy, don't risk too much, you know, all that.
it's a balance. That's like, if I go back to coaching, you know why I like Ancelotti? Ancelotti, I think from a coaching and a human level, understands the balance of who he's dealing with. Better than most. I say he gets we're all human, so we all judge each other, whatever, maybe differently. But like he knows if I'm dealing with a Tony Cruz is maybe different than when I'm dealing with a Vinny.
Yeah, totally.
These are totally two different
But
backgrounds.
that's what makes guys like him a genius because you have to know all the cultures and be able to speak to all the cultures the way that they need to be spoken to. That's an incredible skill, man.
Incredible being able to do that and mesh that together and make it work and
You see him smoking the
look,
cigar with the players after the Champions
yeah,
League,
yeah,
you know, and
rolling up
try,
on a helicopter. Listen, for a black dude, oh, you the G. Like, oh,
yeah,
can we hear the helicopter? Oh, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
For other
yeah,
people, it'd be like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But it's like being able to relate and do certain things, and that's the thing. And obviously, even what Alexi Lalas said recently, well, all the issue is that we had too many culture. Like he said something about that. We had too
Too much
many
diversity, too
too
much
much
diversity,
diversity.
yeah.
I'm like, bro, hey, all this stuff is like cooking, my man. When you cook, you just don't want salt. You got spices, you got seasoning. And guess what? Everybody who learned how to cook, you had to learn how to mix some things together. You had to learn how long to cook it, how to cook it, what works with this. It just takes time. But
Yeah,
guess what? The best meals take time. The best teams are going to take time. This
yeah.
isn't just throwing people on the field because you're like, and it's like, if people start really processing it, yes, it's going to take time. You're going to have different.
You gotta, as a good manager, you gotta know how to make it work.
Yep.
Kev, that you're the chef, and this is my big beef. This is a good insight, in my opinion. My big beef with the Lalas and that whole crew who always beat the drum. We need an American manager, an American who knows the league, an American who knows the American culture, and blah 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 blah. Like, no, bro. Like America, you just finished saying is diverse, and we have a diverse national team with different nationalities and different cultures. Okay.
Yep.
So you need a manager who can connect with all those different cultures. So a Pochettino, for instance, not only can he speak English, but he has the Latino side. He can speak Spanish too. So he can connect with the Latino Americans or Luca de la Torres and Diego Lunas on the level that they need to be connected with.
Oh,
Right. He gets that.
he'll curse at them the same way their
Do
daddies
you
used to.
do you think like Greg Berhalter or Bruce Arena can connect culturally with Diego Luna? You know what I'm saying? It ain't happening, man.
Yeah. I don't,
And
for me, it's,
some of these
yeah,
guys who like defected to Mexico, like our boy Efrain Alvarez, right? That
yeah.
goes to Mexico instead of here, or Julian Araujo, who defects and goes to Mexico and instead of staying here. They probably feel more at home because they can be connected with, you know, and here although again, I'm going to say it, all the white boy culture that exists here with the US, the Soccer Federation, and their coaches in the youth national teams and the senior men's national team, they can't connect with you on that level.
Yeah,
They talk to you like a white boy.
yeah,
And by the way, that's probably why we're able, or Brian more than anything, is able to connect with that culture here at the youth level or even or now at the pro level, because he can speak to them in Spanish with their slang, with everything
yeah.
involved.
Yeah, no, it's huge being able to connect with people, man. Like I said, I think it was great for me to start where I started in the suburban world, and then obviously where I went later on when I had to move to North Carolina. I think it made a huge difference because you had to be around different people, and then if you play football, and if you love football, you go play around different people, different culture, right? You go and then you go have a meal with them,
Mhm.
barbecue, listen to their music, spend time with people. We're humans, right? So then you learn how to value each other rather than take away from each other, and you start to understand people. That's the thing. People, a lot of people don't want to take time. So it's like, no, they're like this. He has an attitude. He's like this. They're like this. But you don't want to get to know the human.
No, you
And so
get it,
it's
man. You get it, man. We should do this more often, dude.
no,
Hey,
no, man, for sure, man, for sure.
before I let you go, because we're rolling up on 2 hours here, I want
Yeah,
your opinion. Well, I want, and I want the audience exposed to your opinion of what do you think of this Club World Cup?
it's interesting. The European side over here, you are hearing complaints that it's two sides. I think for the European clubs, it is too much because the players they're gonna need that break, and that's what you talk. That's me talking to the Pulisic angle. Get it? I totally get it. The other side, the culture on the America side, South and North America, is amazing. It's great,
Yeah.
especially for the North American. If your kid is over there and you're able to see some of the games or walking through and seeing some of the culture, bringing the South American teams, their vibe and their culture directly in front of you and getting to see and feel that, man, that's amazing. And I think they've really taken it on because, you go down, down there, man, like, it's old school. It's like, man, what is game management? We played 70 games, play 75 more, 75. Like, they just keep going. Like,
Mhm.
just gonna keep playing football because it's our life. So, like I said, it's a little bit even more meaning than in Europe. Europe is like more business. Oh, hey, these guys, they get hurt, they get injured. We can't have this, we can't have that. Where over there, it's more like it's the pure nature. Like, this is like the spirit home of football. So I think it's great when sometimes they need to, because Europe is the business side, and here's like the pure nature side. What's great about it is that when we all respect each other, we get balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one trying to overtake the other, just
Yeah.
saying balance.
What's your opinion on, all these conclusions that are made of strength of leagues as a consequence of who's beating who and who's performing how? Because here in the States, I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen the little commentary.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, look, the Brazilian league just proved that they are a top 5 league in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like
Ooh,
they're up
yeah,
there with the Premier League and La Liga
yeah,
and all that sort of stuff, right? And to me, it's funny when they say stuff like that. Or here, the MLS folks had the balls to say stuff like, "Oh, we performed exceptionally well." Like, yeah, we're totally top 10 league now. Like it's kind of shown, like, yeah, we lost 2-0 to Chelsea, but come on, like we did good, or we actually drew Fluminense or who I
yeah.
don't even know who the heck it was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think with all these things, I think sometimes there's too much emphasis put in an event like this. I mean, of course, the idea around it is to figure out who's the best club in the world, and
Correct,
if you're
correct. Mhm.
and if you're able to compete. I think it did show that the South American clubs can compete, and of course they can compete because the best players of all time have come from there. So
Well, we
that's
well, we've seen it, like you and I, compared to the new people here,
yeah,
we have been aware, or at least I'm gonna speak for myself. I've been aware since I was a child, there were these, intercontinental competitions that
yep,
happened. So
hmm
whoever won Copa Libertadores or whatever, Boca Juniors back in the day, or whoever, Vélez Sarsfield or the Brazilian teams or whoever, they would go and play to see which was the best club in the world. So Boca would go and play Real Madrid
yep,
in
yep,
Europe to
yep,
claim supremacy. So
yep,
we got to see countless encounters with the giants of Europe versus the giants of South America, and it was
Mhm.
always tight and super close. Boca against Real Madrid were epic
Yep.
battles. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So we already know kind of relative strengths and all this sort of stuff. But it seems like for the North Americans or US in particular, they haven't been exposed to any such thing before. So it's like it
Yeah.
was like the very first time that they get to play an
Yeah.
MLS team versus
Yeah, and
somebody
it
else.
still insists the culture. I mean, we've already talked about this. I mean, MLS should, well, not MLS, but US Soccer, and I guess as other MLS franchises, they should for sure be in Copa Libertadores. They should be. This is going to help them so much,
Yeah,
because
totally.
it's going to put you in a totally different mindset, totally different culture, totally different pressure. These are things that they don't deal with at home that you're going to deal with down there, right?
Yeah.
And so no, I think it was great for them, for like I said, North and South America. I think for South America's going to be very interesting over the next few years. I think investment is coming heavy down there right now. Um, I think a lot of things, infrastructure wise, and things are coming there that is going to be very interesting over the next few years. So, people are starting to come back, and even Europeans start like to buy, like they're starting to say, maybe go down here and go play. So I think it's great for football, but I think there is sometimes these things turn into the money grind. Like the balance is like, is it too much because now you're doing this and doing this, and then you're gonna want to do more, and so you gotta watch quality control too. So it's a balance, but yeah, I think it's been great overall.
No, and you know what's interesting too is, again, for perspective and context, South America is much stronger than just Argentina and Brazil.
Hmm.
And I'm not so sure we get it here as much because,
Yeah,
like, in the Club World Cup, we could, if you had invited, a Bolivian team, the strongest or something like
yeah,
that, or if you had invited La U or Católica, you know what I'm saying,
yeah.
from
Or
Peru, or
Ecuador,
if you
Ecuador
had
doing
done
very well.
America de Cali,
Yeah, yeah.
or I mean, you there's a whole bunch of clubs in any of the South American countries that if you had invited to the Club World Cup,
They don't cause
they'd
problems.
they'd be fucking crushing it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Go ahead and have America de Cali or something like that play against an MLS franchise, bro. It's not going to be pretty. You know what I
yeah. They're
mean?
gonna be all over them.
So, but to come back to the whole drawing conclusions as to what league is better than what based on a couple games or something, like MLS teams would get exposed by Peruvian teams, by Chilean teams, by Colombian teams,
Yep.
by Venezuelan teams. So, what are we going to then say that the Venezuelan league is better than MLS? Are you ready to admit that? Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, MLS teams would get taken to school by a lot of Peruvian teams, a lot of Chilean teams, a lot of Colombian teams.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think there's an element of like with everything, like it's all these events. It's like I said, it's like the all-star event thing. It's like
Yeah.
you proved that we did well in this event, this made up
Yeah,
event,
yeah.
then we're something, right? It's like we want, please like us,
Right,
we're
right,
good.
right, right, right.
It's that feeling, and so because I think they're looking for validation, if they do well, it
No,
over
you got
conversation
it.
on this side. If they
Yeah.
do bad, sometimes we need to
Excuses.
balance it out, but
Excuses.
if they do bad, it's like, we understand, but then if they do well, it's like, "All right, guys, relax, relax. Great that you do well. Now let's keep moving forward, right? Let's
Yeah,
actually build, let's," but to me, I always tend to go on a more individual level anyway. Like, there's team, but I'm like, "All right, how many
totally,
players? What kind of players?
totally.
Hey, I like Galaxy. Great, you guys won the league. What player have you got? You have the whole city of LA, right? With another franchise.
What players have you gone out, yeah, to the
What,
top, yeah. Oh,
bro? One city,
yeah,
you should have, right, 4 or
you should
5
be
world class players.
you should be
Easy,
crushing it. Hey,
easy.
last
Yeah.
thing before we sign off, who's gonna win it?
World Cup or
Yeah,
the club?
Club World
No,
Cup. The Club World Cup.
PSG is on a tear, but it's gonna be Real PSG, huh? Um, I think Real this time.
Oh, no shit. Damn, then they're the ego,
PSG's on a
man.
tear, but then it
The ego on Real Madrid and all the fans and everybody's like, "See, we're the best in the world. We always have been, always will be."
it's not even that. I just think Alonso's gonna they're gonna
Yeah,
it's like that extra they'll do a little bit more. Like PSG is like they've done everything, and I think they play next round, right? Those two.
yes, yeah.
That's gonna be a nail biter. That's gonna be a good one. Because a lot, it's like a little mental thing, I think.
You do get to see those games though there, right? They're televised?
Yeah, they're a little bit televised. I mean, because you have all the channel stuff breaking here. I just need to find them. I'll find some stream.
All right, hey brother, what time is it over there?
It is now 5:45 a.m.
Yeah, you're a beast. You're an
No,
animal.
no. Thank you, man. You gotta get some sleep too, man. You about to go get some rest.
You're a beast. You're a beast, and it just goes to prove the culture and the spiritual thing, dude. You're
Yeah.
you're up from 3 to 5 in the morning doing a podcast. Look at you.
No, man. No, thank you for even having me out, man. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, my man. Hey, let's stay in touch, bro. I
Yep,
like
we'll
hearing
do.
from you.
All right, you too, bro. We'll speak soon.
Thank you, Kev.
All right, thanks, bro.